Have you ever noticed how the word home feels different depending on who you are talking to? For some, it is just a street address or a place where they keep their keys. But for others, home is a living, breathing thing. It is a feeling of belonging that stays with you even when you are far away. We live in a world that feels increasingly messy and sometimes very lonely. Because the world is so big and overwhelming, many of us feel a deep need for people and places we can truly depend on. We are searching for a sense of grounding. We want to know that there is a spot on this earth where our presence actually matters. To understand what it means to be from a place and to truly love that place, we have to look past the maps and the buildings. We have to look at the stories and the small moments of kindness that happen every day in our own neighborhoods. Most of us think that community is something that just exists on its own. We assume that if we move into a house, we are automatically part of a neighborhood. This is what we might call the surface concept of living together. We see our neighbors through their windows or as they pull their cars into their driveways. We see the results of their lives, like the flowers they plant or the mail in their boxes. But often, we remain like small specks in a grand universe, drifting past each other without really connecting. We might think that individualism is the only way to survive a fast-paced world. We buy our groceries, we go to work, and we stay inside our own bubbles. This surface view suggests that as long as our own power is on and our own doors are locked, we are doing just fine. However, there is a hidden assumption that we often carry without realizing it. We assume that we can be truly happy while being isolated. We think that our tastes and our interests are ours alone. We go into a record shop or a bookstore and we look for things that satisfy only our own needs. But if we stay in that isolated mindset, we miss the beauty of being known by others. The hidden truth is that we are at our best when we offer ourselves up freely and eagerly to the people around us. When we share our time and our interests, we create a shared history. A record shop is not just a place to buy music, it is a place where someone behind the counter remembers what you like and offers you something new that might delight you. They hold on to a piece of art or a conversation just for you until you re-enter their life. This connection shows us that we are not just consumers, we are part of a collective heart. This brings us to a structural pattern of how we relate to the land and the history of where we live. Place is often something that happens to us. We do not usually choose where we are born. But staying in a place is a choice. It is a commitment to a history that existed before us and a history that we want to exist after us. Think about the person in a neighborhood who refuses to sell their home, even when big companies offer them a lot of money. That refusal is an act of love. It is a way of saying that this ground has a meaning that money cannot buy. Staying in a neighborhood means keeping its stories alive. It means being a witness to the changes and ensuring that the new people who arrive can find a way to belong. The structural pattern of a strong community is built on these acts of staying and caring. It is about being a hub for the young people, like a shop that gives out sneakers for good grades or takes care of a kid who is short on change. These are the small, quiet actions that turn a city into a home. We can reframe our perspective by realizing that everything around us is already offering us something, if we are willing to pay attention. We often feel like we need to turn everything into a project or a piece of work. But sometimes, a park full of roses is just a place to sit in gratitude. You do not need to gild the lily or add your own messy human layers to something that is already beautiful. Reframing our life means learning how to pay close attention to the simple things. Like the shape of the clouds or the way the light hits a building. If you can pay attention to the clouds, you can pay attention to a friend who is hurting. Paying attention is a form of love. It is a way of checking to see if your heart is still working. When we stop trying to rework the world and start simply noticing it, we find that we are never truly alone. Applying this to our daily lives does not require big, intimidating gestures. It starts with the simple act of surrendering your time. Think about the power of a key. If you have a key to a safe place, and you use it to let someone else in out of the cold, you are building community. It does not have to be a long or difficult challenge. It can be as simple as sitting in silence with someone for 3 hours because they need to feel safe. When we surrender our time to others, we are not losing anything. Instead, we are being renewed. We learn that our time is not only our own. This realization makes the moments we have for ourselves feel even more valuable. In your own life, you can start by being the person who talks to the stranger at the grocery store or the person who gathers with neighbors when the power goes out. These small gatherings are the entry points to a deeper way of living. We can choose to be curious about the history of the flowers in our parks and the people on our streets. We can choose to stay and build, rather than always looking for the next best thing. This path of gratitude and connection is what turns a messy world into a familiar home. It is a journey of learning how to love better by paying closer attention to what is already in front of us. We can all find ways to unlock doors for each other, whether those doors are physical or emotional. By doing so, we create a world where everyone has a place to rest and a community that remembers their name. This is the heart of what it means to belong. It is about realizing that we are all responsible for the vibrancy and the safety of the places we inhabit. We are the keepers of the history and the builders of the future. When we move through the world with a sense of shared interest, we find delight in the success of our friends and comfort in the presence of our neighbors. We find that home is not a destination, but a practice of being present and generous with our lives. If you were to step outside your front door right now and look at your neighborhood as if it were a garden that required your specific care and attention to flourish, what is the very first small act of belonging you would offer to the people or the land around you?